Average taker of the SAT, doesn't really have a plan, and they don't really care about improving their score. They take, a test, they might take one practice test, and they take their exam, and they're just fine with the score that they get. They just don't really care that much. Now, a 1600 score on the SAT not only has a plan, but it's extremely detailed. That plan includes everything they might possibly need to do, and their execution of that plan is almost perfect. That's the reason they get the score that they get. So my poor planning, right? When I was taking the SAT, I didn't really have a plan when I first started out. I wasn't really preparing or taking it that seriously. And the issue that came up with that is that that didn't allow me to progress, right? I didn't have a proper plan. My plan was literally study 1 hour a day on Khan Academy and just do random problems, right? I didn't have a plan in place that actually forced me to do certain problems at certain times, like prioritize the difficult ones. And I never really did it regularly. I didn't commit to it. And I didn't even know if what I was doing was actually giving me results at all. It made my journey of preparing just so much longer and so much harder than it had to be. And, it eventually worked. It took me 2 years to get my dream score, but you could get that in probably 6 months if you just had a proper plan. Now, what this video is meant for is I'm inviting you to learn from my mistakes and actually get better at the SAT as a result. So this is the best SAT winter study plan. All right. So I guess my plan for your SAT prep would be just over the periods of months, I say, that you're preparing, right? Because you're going to take either a winter SAT, like the December SAT, or you're preparing throughout the winter to take a March SAT, right? So you need to figure out a plan that works for you by customizing these things, right? And I'll show you every single point where I want you to customize. So for the scientific study, right? There was a scientific study done and was trying to figure out with SAT and GMAT scores, why, do some of them have high scores? Why do some of them have low scores? And what is the improvement of those tests? People who improve the most, what thing did they do to do that, right? And what they found is a direct proportional relation, right, of the number of practice problems that they've done to the score increase that they achieved. So that's extremely good news. You can literally increase your score just by doing a bunch of practice problems, and that's exactly what you should prioritize. This is scientifically proven to boost your score, or it's correlated, so it's a high chance that the act of practicing problems will improve your score. So firstly, calculate the number of days that you have until your exam, right? If you're taking a December exam, and at the time of this video, you probably have 3 months, right? But if you're taking a March exam and you want to prepare throughout the winter, you might have up to 5 or 6 months, right? So figure out how much time you have until your exam, and then figure out a decent number of problems that you want to do every day. And, you can use release practice tests. You can use released SAT exams, accurate SAT practice, Khan Academy. There's so many resources that you can use to prepare. So you'll literally have an unlimited amount of problems online. So calculate the number of days you have until exam and figure out how many problems that you want to do per day. And you can start off with something small, like 10 problems, 15 problems, but then slowly overload it to where you're doing maybe 30 to an hour, 30 minutes to an hour of work every single day just off of problems, right? Because that is the thing that's going to increase your score the most. Just based off of the number of problems you do is directly proportional to your score increase. So do more problems, increase your score. Commit to this daily amount and overload it over time. That's going to get you the score that you want. And this is not going to be easy. Doing an hour of prep every single day with all the other things that you have to do in your life and with school and everything, it's very difficult. But it's going to get you the best results, and it's going to get you the best results faster than not following it. Okay, so what do you actually prioritize when you're preparing, right? You're doing problems and you're just doing practice tests to analyze where you are, but you need to actually figure out what things that you should prioritize. So you want to get the most reward out of every single little effort, right? And if you have a problem that's particularly difficult for you, just getting a little bit better at that problem is going to increase your results so much more than trying to get perfect at a problem that you're already extremely good at. So figure out your weak points, because that's going to give you the most effort, right? The most reward for your effort. So how do we figure that out? you take practice exams. Take full length practice exams and then figure out the questions that you get wrong and then mark those with a special mark saying that you need to improve on this skill. So if it's a certain kind of reading question, if it's a grammar question that involves commas, if it's a quadratic math question or a like SOHCAHTOA, like, whatever it is, right? Whatever math problem, grammar problem, reading problem, type, whatever it is, mark that and just realize, like, write it down somewhere that you need to redo that kind of problem, right? And that's going to help you figure out your weak points. And now you know what to actually prioritize. But, you need to figure out what this is constantly. You need to be testing again and again and again, on a regular basis. So you figure out if you're actually improving on that problem type or you're getting worse or it's staying the same. And your hard, like difficult problem types, as you take more and more practice exams, it might actually shift into being a different kind of problem because one practice exam is not a big enough sample to realize what problems that you do incorrectly most of the time. So retest regularly to find this out. And, in your daily practice routine of doing problems, include a lot of these types of problems that you don't do as well as the others, but still do a multitude of other problems as well, like in your practice test, so that you just have a general familiarity of the entire SAT. But prioritize these problems in your review. Okay, constantly consume new info, right? You want to figure out things of the SAT. So first of all, just meta on the SAT itself, you need to figure out, like, do you know all the grammar concepts? Do you know all the math concepts? Do you read constantly to just keep up your skill of reading? That's things that you need to do. You need to know every single math concept that's on the SAT. You need to know every single, like, grammar concept that's on the SAT. Do you know how to use commas? Do you know about possession? Do you know about every single grammar concept that's tested on the SAT? You need to know that, right? So figure all of those out. Figure out every single concept, but within the SAT test taking itself, look up new strategies, look up how other people do it, figure out how people who have the score that you want tested for the SAT, practiced for the SAT, use their methods, trial and error them for yourself. If they don't work, leave them, but if you find them working and you feel that they're actually useful, use them. So learn the concepts, but also learn how people test and constantly consume new info. Make it a practice to consume a little bit of info every day on both SAT topics like grammar and math and reading, but also on how to take the SAT and on advice on how to get better on the SAT, because that's going to help you exponentially boost your score, because the information that you don't have right now is limiting you from getting the score that you want. So consume more information so you can one day encounter that one piece of information that's going to boost your score as soon as you apply it. And also continue to learn specifically based on your weakest skills, and that's going to help you improve on your weakest skills while consuming information. So actually start doing this, right? And I'm going to give you some actionable steps that if you're watching this video until now, you must do these if you want to see any improvement, right? So create a plan, right? At the very beginning, I talked about problems every single day. Create a plan with the amount of problems that you're going to do every day. And then every couple of weeks, like, you're going to increase the amount of problems by like 2 problems or 3 problems, right? So commit to that plan. Create figure out that number in your head right now. Get a piece of paper, get a pen, write down the number of problems, write down how many days you have until your SAT, and then write how much review you're going to do. So after I do the problems, I'm going to do 20 minutes of review of those problems. And then I'm going to watch 5 minutes of like a Khan Academy video that teaches me about a certain grammar or math skill. So write all of that down on a piece of paper and write how much you're going to increase it by every couple of weeks or so, or even sooner than that if you don't have that much time and you really want to take this seriously. So figure out what you're going to do daily, and then I want you to commit to taking a couple of practice tests. Take a couple of practice tests in the next month or so to figure out all of your weaknesses, or look at your previous practice tests and mark down which problems were your weak points, and then specifically add that into your daily review and into your training. Now, I want this piece of paper, right, that you've written down that you're going to commit to the number of problems and how many days that you have left and what your weaknesses are, or when you're going to take your future practice test. I want you to stick it somewhere like your desk or your bed, right? Stick it somewhere that you're going to see it every single day, preferably like when you're working. Stick it like right in front of your desk on your wall. So every time you go down to work or you go down to like your computer to play video games or something, you see that paper on the wall telling you what you need to do every day. And don't start too big. Start at a moderate pace. Start something that might be a little challenging, not too easy, but not very difficult. Start at that pace and you're going to see improvement committing to it every single day. Because doing the problems, implementing this method is the one guaranteed way over a long time frame to increase your SAT score. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you learned something today.